Good evening, Cheeseheads. Welcome to a Monday night Cheese Room review show. You're stuck with me hosting again tonight. But luckily for me, I've got a lovely panel who's going to get me through the next hour. First of all, bottom left, going to introduce our man in the stands, all the way from the Oso Spurs pod. It's Jim. All right, Jim, how are you, mate?
I'm doing good. Thanks, Gibbo. Lovely to see you all. Hope you're having a great evening, morning, afternoon, depending on where you are.
And nice to be coming here and talking about a victory, isn't it?
It sure is. Sure is. Always makes it much easier.
Yeah. And then second, bottom right, second time on the show. I think it's only midnight this time for him. So it's our Welsh, Canadian, Middle East Cockney, Gare. All right, Gare, glad to be back.
Yeah, very glad to be back. And 2 appearances, 2 wins.
Well, mate,
no more.
Need to be on every week then, don't you? Need you on every week. And then I've raced through introducing these two because for the first time we've got Courtney on from North Carolina, part of the North Carolina Spurs Supporters Club, I believe. How are you,
Yes.
Courtney? All right, looking forward to tonight?
Very much so. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so basically, as I always try and do when we've got a new guest on, just want Courtney to tell us a little bit about how she started supporting Spurs, the first game she ever went to, and go for it. Don't be nervous.
Yeah, no worries. I would watch football kind of off and on in the summers when I was home from school and like the Euros and the World Cup, but never really was a fan of anything. And then in the mornings around 2016-2017 season, which was a pretty special one for Spurs fans, I started watching the Premier League, and there was this team that had, this really, really dynamic midfielder named Dele Alli and this guy who could put a ball on a dime named Christian Eriksen, and this guy who put the ball in the back of the net unlike anything else named Harry Kane, and then this kid, Sonny, who always had a smile on his face. And the way they played together, it reminded me of the way that I grew up playing sports with my friends. So I just kind of fell in love with it. And they made a run. They were really, really good, and they ended in second place that season. So, and I think, when you don't really have a geographic or familial tie to it, it's pretty easy to be, a Liverpool supporter or a Chelsea supporter. It's really hard to be a Spurs fan, I think. So I didn't want to. I didn't want to take the easy way out,
So, what was the first? You have been a game? You've been to a game? You were telling me before we started, Courtney. And what was that game that you went to?
It was during the Conte days. A couple years ago in April, I went to Brighton at home, and we unfortunately lost that game 1-0 at the very, very end of the game. But I sat 4 rows from behind the goal, opposite the wall. So now I know where to sit next time because it had the sun. There aren't very many warm April days in England, but that one sure was one of them. So I know to sit where the shade is now. So the next time I go.
So you travelled all the way over to watch your beloved Spurs, and true to form, they let you down.
Hey, you know what? I said it's not easy to be a Spurs fan. This is what we signed up for.
Jim, just remind us, what was the first Spurs game you ever went to?
I think it was. I think it was Southend United. I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, I think it was the FA Cup. It was FA Cup. Yeah, probably around. Defoe scored. Yes, good memory. Yeah, it was Defoe. Yeah, my era was the Robbie Keane, Jermaine Defoe.
Yeah.
Berbatov was just about to be signed. It was all that kind of crop of players. Michael Dawson was my pin-up. So, yeah.
Yeah?
No.
We asked you last time?
It was actually, I came back to visit, and we were actually in the 2nd division then. I'm old.
Late 70s.
Yep. I was 6. That's the first. My uncles, as I said last time, my mom's side of the family are massive Spurs fans. So there was no way I was not becoming one. So Yeah.
So some of the guys that I actually used to go a lot with, they were around then. They said that was the best they'd ever been to. So must have been good, mate.
Well, yeah, I mean, that team laid the foundations for the success of the early '80s, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, that was a successful period, wasn't it? That's what I call a successful period, winning stuff. But anybody who watches this knows,
and winning it with flair as well. Let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Good players. Knows that all my extended family support Villa. And the first game I ever went to at White Hart Lane was Spurs Villa, 1992. Spurs went 2-0 up. Sean Teal own goal. Lineker missed a penalty, and we eventually lost 5-2. So Courtney, they let me down on my first time as well. But
just more of a reason to go back.
Yeah. Desperate to go back to see him win. I've seen him win plenty now, so I wouldn't change it for the world. But let's get into it. Saturday, Luton at home. What were you thinking, Jim, before the game? We're in a WhatsApp group together, and I felt that we'd absolutely hammer Luton. So what were you thinking before the game? What were you thinking, the outcome was going to be?
Well, I always predict we're going to be down at half-time and come back and wallop the opposition in the second half. That's kind of been my theme this season. I didn't think it'd be any different. I just thought we'd get 3 goals instead of 2. And to be fair, I think on any normal day, we finished that game 3 or 4-1. Like, we hit both posts. We had the ball go within 2 millimeters of crossing the line. We had an XG of 3.6 versus their 0.46, I believe it was. It was just one of those days where everything possible happened to try stop us winning, but we still managed to win. So, yeah, I get it. There's always that anxiety in the ground, isn't there? Like, you sensed it, I think, if you were watching the game on TV, that if we're not winning at half time, there's still this problem that we don't go out with enough energy. And I felt that anxiety was there on the ground. But fair play to Ange. I think he answered a lot of his critics in the whole kind of, does he make subs early enough? Well, he made subs at half time. Does he adapt his system? Well, yes, he did adapt his system. And do we have the squad depth? We clearly do, because it was the players that came off the bench. Lo Celso, I thought, was brilliant. I thought Johnson was excellent. I was overall really, really pleased with that, actually, as a game.
So, we'll come on to you. The team comes out. Spurs starting 11. What are you thinking? Is that what you thought it would be? Anything different you'd have done if you were big Ange?
I mean, the only change you're going to really get right now is maybe Werner for Johnson and vice versa. I mean, I think the rest of them right now pick themselves. I mean, just based on Bentancur's form and apparently broken toe. Whatnot. So the midfield picks itself, and then it's just a choice between Johnson and Werner for this game. Maybe West Ham, it might be a different conversation, but yeah, I was happy with that lineup. Expected it. I had us down to win 4-1 in our prediction league, so we don't keep clean sheets. So
yeah, I thought the same as well. And Courtney, what before the game, what do you think? We'll smash this lot. Luton name rubbish. 17th in the league or whatever they are, conceded lots of goals. We'll smash them to bits.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the expectation, right? I think as far as this lineup is concerned, I think it's the strongest one we can field right now. Obviously Mickey Van de Ven is coming back with off the injury, and Rodrigo is still kind of not quite 100%. I think it's fair to say. I think the only thing that I am wondering about is how Timo, if you switch Sonny and Timo. I think Sonny is much more dynamic out there on that left wing and is able to get around his defenders much better than Timo is. I think Timo is very good in a straight line, but and I saw it a couple times over the weekend, where if he has to hold up play a little bit and wait for his mates to get in the box, he can't exactly turn it back on and get around his defender. So I'd be interested to see what Timo could do, maybe in the middle, or put Richie back in the middle, just because I think that left wing is much better served with Sonny out there, because he can start, stop, and get around guys.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a few options there, haven't we? But I mean, not like I was saying, that team come out and it's sort of like pretty much as you'd expect. So the whistle goes, and I haven't got the slides for their goal. But obviously, we'll just go through it. Jim's in there. What was it like, Jim? Literally. So, as the game's about to start, were the fans up for it, or was it a bit like, did everybody feel like, we should just turn up and win this today?
Yeah, there was a little bit of, before the game, a lot of the debate was around the over 65s, concessions being taken away, the season ticket prices, our revenues are going to be announced this week. So it was a bit of kind of, the atmosphere I felt was a little bit subdued because some of the core old school supporters, a lot of them sit in the South Stand, and I think that's where they were. But before the game, it was a very optimistic, the first 3 minutes, everyone was, we're going to wallop these guys. What a fast start. We've learnt our lesson. Here we go. And then within 30 seconds, it did turn into a bit of toxic kind of, oh, here we go again. Same old. We can't win in the first half. We need to sort this out. And the atmosphere shifted a bit. But it was a really subdued atmosphere, actually, I have to say, particularly in that first half. But I think a lot of us felt the win was coming. It was just a matter of when it's going to come in this game. And we'd like to have that faster start. But the atmosphere wasn't the best, I have to say, from what I've seen in previous games.
Yeah, so Courtney, as Jim says, we start off, we're all optimistic. 3 minutes in, Chong scores. Kulu loose in possession on the edge of their area. Townsend runs the length of the pitch, more or less, does his little trick, which he's been doing since he's been playing professional football. Bissouma dallies a leg. They put it in the box to an unmarked Barkley, pretty much. Barkley puts it out wide for an overload, and Chong puts it in the bottom corner. So, whose fault is that, or is it just poor all round?
I mean, I think you could probably lay it at the doorstep of a couple different guys. Pedro kind of lost track of Chong also. Out there on the side, he was kind of cheating in closer to the penalty spot also. So, as far as Bissouma, that's pretty indicative of what we've seen of him since he came back from AFCON, at least. So I think I will say, though, as far as after that goal, I will say, watching the first half, I don't think they really kind of dropped their levels at all. I do think, and despite what I just said about Timo Werner, he did have a pretty amazing shot that was a couple inches wide of going in as well. So I think they responded very, very well. But as I think that was just bad team defense all the way around, that goal to concede.
Yeah, that's that there's fingers to be pointed all over for that goal, isn't there? It's not good enough, really. Look, I know it didn't cost us in the end, but and later on, I'm going to come on at the end of the show to certain things that seem to be happening and certain points that people are bringing up on social media and stuff, and we'll go over that. But as a start at home, not good.
No, it was. I don't know if we're going to cover this point later, but Kulu, if you're playing an inverted winger who likes to cut in and shoot the ball, he's got to shoot the ball. He had a chance to pull his foot back to hit a shot. It was the first time in weeks I've seen him with that much space, and he's like, "Nope, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to lay a pass 3 yards behind the oncoming players." And then, should Townsend run 80 yards at his age? He's almost as old as I am. Somebody's got to catch him.
And he's probably closer to my age. Probably close to my age.
Just dangles a leg. It was a very, very half-hearted challenge by Bissouma. And then, we just got 4-on-3 in the area, and Barkley, who's in a great run of form this season, had 3 options to pass the ball to, and he picked the right one.
Yeah,
and
1-0 down. And Jim, let's have your take on it, because you're an extremely positive guy. So I want to hear your take on this goal.
Yeah, I don't see it as one mistake. I see it as 4 half mistakes. And the way I see it is, fine, yes, Kulusevski should have drilled the ball, either shot or stuck on the right side and drilled the ball across goal like Johnson does often. But if you lose the ball in the opposition penalty box, you can't really, I don't think, blame that player for conceding down the other end 30 seconds later.
Yeah. They had 90 yards to go.
Exactly, and I think there's a mixture of factors that are very Tottenham factors in the sense you have the person it falls to is an ex-Tottenham player who's probably thinking, I want to bust a lung here. This is against my boyhood club. I want to score in front of the crowd. So it falls to Townsend, and then there's multiple errors. Son lost the ball too easily, in my opinion, as well, a little bit, but it wasn't like a calamitous error. It was just a little bit soft. And then you see Bissouma as well. He was probably a little bit soft as well and let Townsend get past him a bit too easily. And then when the ball goes into the box to Barkley, I kind of felt Dragusin and Romero kind of looked at each other like, is it you or me going for this guy? Because I don't want to move out of my position. Neither did. And then it was just easy for Barkley to set up his teammate and them to score. So, and to be fair to Ange, I want to defend the system because it's very easy to jump on this high press will never work conversation. I don't really agree with that. I feel he set up the team to mitigate these problems, but 4 players consecutively failed to do what he asked them to do in order to prevent that kind of goal. And normally it's even set up in a way that if one of those or 2 of those mistakes happen, you've still got cover. But when all 4 happen, and then you combine all that with, say, someone like Van de Ven being out, it was just a mixture of factors that resulted in a goal. And I still felt confident we were going to come back after that anyway, and we did. So I wasn't losing too much sleep over it.
No, I think all of us on this, from what we've said, I think we all sort of like, anybody who watched that game, really, like people saying it was poor, but I think the issues weren't Spurs played poorly. I think we did certain parts of our game were poor. And like you said, that goal, which is something I'm going to come on to later, but like soft was the word for me. It was all a little bit soft. Nobody taking control of that situation. I know we're not fully in control of it because we haven't got the ball, but you can sort of be assertive without the ball in it. And that moment didn't feel like we were doing that. But we go 1-0 down. To be fair, it's early enough that you think, this happens all the time. So we get into it. I thought we played all right, to be fair, after then. Big chance comes for Werner. Now, we don't have the copyright to show football clips on here, so some of our tech people have put up some slides, and I think if I go like this, look at that.
Well, look at that.
Oh no, gone too far, ain't I? So we get to this point where Werner's here. Obviously, not a goal; it's a miss. But Courtney, like you were talking about Werner earlier, he did all the hard work, but just the finish is poor, wasn't it? Oh, well, I think you've got to hit the target there. It's gone a little bit wide, but, that was like a good chance. He did well there, Werner, didn't he, to get to that point?
And even just lay it off to Destiny, who's standing right there wide open, just begging for it. I don't know if he's, yeah, maybe, but I mean, that's if Sonny's on the end of that, 9 times out of 10 that's going in. But if Timo's on the end of it, it's more like 4 times out of 10 it's going in. So, and again, I think that speaks to confidence probably more than anything. But I think he did there was such a good move where he shifted the ball to the inside and then brought it back out to really have his defender twisted in knots, and he just slices it wide.
Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on that miss? But and more importantly, what are your thoughts on Werner overall? How do you see him as a player? How do you think he affects?
Like I said, I think he's. Like I said, I think he's got a lot of straight line speed. I think he can help us get the ball up the field very, very quickly, which is exactly what Ange wants. I just don't think he's clinical enough to either put in the final shot or the final pass. I've always kind of, from the moment we brought him in, the conversation was, okay, well, he's great to have. He's a body. That's kind of how I feel. He's a body that helps us make up the numbers. I don't see him as particularly dynamic to really be a threat. I mean, the threat is always on the opposite side with Brennan Johnson or Decky. So I think he's just kind of. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know much else.
Yeah. I mean, we've all got different opinions, so that's What's your thoughts on Werner?
Okay, well, first of all, considering that two of the other three left wingers have kicked the ball about 4 times this season, it's good to have a healthy body there, and one who does have he has a very good skill set. I just don't think he has that ice in front of goal. I mean, we've seen it. He's capable of an outstanding finish every 4 or 5 games, but he's always getting in the right spots. He's creating chances. He scares defenders with his pace, and he's not afraid to run by them. Earlier this season, when Son was out left, Son wouldn't run by a defender. He'd stop and cut it back, despite the fact that Son can torch most defenders in this league. So it's good. Maybe he is the German Lamella. I don't know. High not HG, but I mean, right now he offers us something that does scare the opposition.
Like
right?
I said,
and,
I've got a hot take on.
And after his chance, he put a ball across the 6-yard box that, if Johnson was on the other wing, becomes a tap-in, because Kulu doesn't make those same runs to the back post that Johnson does. Whether or not it's a pace issue or just Kulu hangs back a little bit. But for now, Werner is a great choice out there.
Yeah. Before we come to Jim, I'm just gonna. I think Son 2 years ago on the left would have been a good option. I honestly, I think I've said this on our shows before. I love Son. Son is a fantastic player, and in clutch moments, goals, assists in the right area, top man, absolutely world class. But I don't think his all-round play has been brilliant. Don't get me, like I said, world class finisher, clutch moments, his presence around the team. But I don't think he has been that good. And I think Werner's a better option on the left with the ball at his feet, and he just feels a little bit more robust out there. We don't get the old Son anymore as much, where he sort of faces up a player and shifts it and puts a worldie in the top corner as much. So yeah, I mean, I think Werner, before I come to you, Jim, and you give I think Werner out there is a good option. I think he is nowhere near clinical enough. That is obviously an issue for him, but I think he's a good player. Dave's putting here no intelligence. I think he does pick up some good positions and gives the ball and passes the ball on quite well. Not brilliant, defense splitting passes, but I think he sort of knows where to pick a position. He knows who to sort of give the ball to. He makes runs off the ball a little bit more. So, what's your take on Werner, Jim?
Yeah, I think the questions I kind of pass back is he better than Brian Hill for Ange Postecoglou's system? Yes. Is there another option on the left wing apart from Heung-min Son at the moment who we need playing at number 9? No. Solomon's out injured. So it kind of leaves us with a situation where we would have been going into the second half of the season, potentially letting Brian Hill try and do his thing on the left when Richarlison's injured and Son's up front. So we've signed him on almost a 6-month audition to say, we've got this buy option, which is affordable, and we can keep you. And Ange said it in his latest press conference, which I think I read between Ange's comments as, we're looking for other people, but if we can't find anyone better, we'll sign you permanently. And I think that kind of summarizes him. Is he a great backup? Yes. Do you want him starting for Tottenham next season if we truly want to go for a Premier League push? No. And that's where I am with him. It's like we have this bias, I think, as football fans. We always see it. When we sell a player with a clear deficiency, we see the opposing fans going, it'll be different for us. It'll be different for us. It's going to be a great signing. And we're the victims to that as well. We look at him, we go, for us, under Ange's system, watch this. He's going to go back to the Leipzig prime days and he's going to score 20 plus goals. But it's exactly what we expected. He's fast. He can play across 3 positions. He gets in great spots on the pitch, but he can't finish. And it's exactly what we expected. But he will find ways to bobble the ball across the line, probably 5 or 6 times more this season, but I won't be expecting much more than that from him. So happy with the signing. I just don't think he's a long-term option for us.
The one piece of sorry, just real quick. The one credit I will give him is that when he first was signed and he first came in January, he seemed very timid. He was passing the ball back probably more than he was taking it forward. And it would seem that he has kind of gotten over that and is finding himself, to Jim's point here in the comments, much more involved in the attacking third. So I definitely will give him his credit where it's due. That he has kind of seemed to find a little bit of confidence and such. But again, I think, at the end of the day, you win games by scoring goals, and when you've got many goals where you're one-on-one with the keeper, and you miss them, there's going to be questions asked.
I'm in Jim's camp. I in a way, but I think you're going to get rid of Brian Hill. We're going to be playing 2 games a season next season. We're going to be 2 games a week next season. Sorry. So I think if you're getting rid of Brian Hill, you're probably going to get 8-9 million for Brian Hill, at least, I'd say. You've got to be looking at getting at least, you look at some of how much players are going for now. You're more or less getting half of the Werner money. But as HG has said before, see if we can get him on loan again. Because I look at him, if Brian Hill's going, I don't know what will happen with Solomon. He's had a big injury. But you have got to have a big squad. And in games like, if we're functioning a lot better than we are now, and we're still functioning well, because look, 5th in the league, in good points total, doing well. I think he's an excellent squad option, but we can't settle with him. We've got to be looking at sort of him like replacing Hill as a squad option, and we've got to be looking at bringing someone better. But I think he like Jim said, he can play across all 3 positions. Should we be getting someone better? Definitely. But I think if you keep him around and he's a squad option, I think he's a decent squad option, not a starter. But I mean, the next slide I'm going to put, this was pure madness, wasn't it? This moment, Son round the keeper, both posts, Werner shot blocked, Sarr shot blocked on the line. At that point, you're thinking, oh my God, we are never. This is not going to be our day.
Yeah, I mean, just after the first freeze frame here of Son, just as he's trying to take it around the keeper, there was so much space to just slide the ball underneath him before he rounded him. So I thought that's one that Son should have tucked away. I mean, the fact that he still managed to squeeze it past the defender and off the inside side of the post is credit to his skill level. But then the Werner block, that was just rushed. But the Sarr one, he's in the center of the goal. He's just got to pick a corner instead of just putting his laces through it. But yeah, at that moment you're just like, oh, okay, we've seen this we've seen this story before.
Yeah,
we've seen this.
What are you thinking? What are you thinking at that point? It's not our day, is it?
Yeah, no. I mean, it's one of those. Oh, okay, this is going to be more of a nail biter than it probably would be on any other day. It's not often that you have 3 shots kind of that close to the penalty, one of which the keeper's on his back for, that doesn't go in, but like I said, I mean, credit to them. I mean, the reason they had 3 guys available at all is that they kept attacking. I think they were still very, very bright and still very much, at it. And it's very easy, after the 3-minute goal, after the Timo miss, after this miss, to just hang your head and go, oh God, this is never going to fall for us. But they didn't do that, and I think that's a big credit to Ange. I mean, that's something that very easily would have happened under some previous regimes. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of them things. This is why we love and hate this game.
Yeah, Jim, is the old positivity waning when that guy stops it on the line? Or
it was I was watching.
Can you remember a passage of play like that mental?
Oh, no, it was. I'm trying to think back to when there was, because I think it might have been last season against Chelsea. Anyway, I'll be thinking for 5 minutes if to remember the exact game. But yeah, I was sitting in the south, so I was opposite end of the pitch at that point, and yeah, we couldn't believe it. We kind of stood up to do 2 mini celebrations, and then it went to Sarr. We went for the 3rd mini celebration, and we're like, it's just not going to be one of those. But with this side, I kind of feel like when you look at the players we have, but all the midfielders, the front three and the striker, we've got one player in the squad, I would say. You could maybe argue Maddison, that you'd say, I am confident you will score more than 10 goals across the season. You could argue others might get to 10, but you would be, gambling your money a little bit, whereas Sonny, you can almost guarantee it. But as a result, we go into these games often and the balls falling to players who just aren't natural goal scorers. We just don't have those in the team. So we're very reliant on Son's finishing. And I felt that even with SARS, like in that freeze frame, you could see Maddison right in front of him. I was like, I wish that fell to Maddison, because I think he would have probably calmly controlled that into the bottom corner of the net, whereas Sarr just went whack it on target to get it on, because that's not his game. And Sarr is brilliant, and I love the guy, but that's just not his game. So I think those follow-up shots were right at the defenders, but I thought Sonny was so unlucky, because as always, his finishing is so meticulous. It's either off the post or it's skimming the post and going in, and it leaves the keeper with no chance. And you see the keeper's on his arse with his hands in the air, like he completely bamboozled by it, right? So I think Sonny did all he could. We just needed a gust of wind in the right direction, and unfortunately it was blowing the other way. So, yeah.
Yeah. So Jim, so we get to halftime. Were there boos in the, I sort of like when it gets halftime, I'm watching it on the telly and I sort of go off to get a drink and stuff like that. But was there booing, or was it more like a groan, or what?
Yeah, it was a kind of a mix of the two, I think. It was strange. I'd say it was definitely a minority who were booing, and others on the ground were looking around at them and going, really? Like, it was definitely a mixed thing. It's been very divided in that stadium for a long time. Lots of infighting. And even when that over 65s moment was happening, right, some people turned around, other people told them to turn back around. And then when people were going, what? So I just feel at the moment there's fans who are voicing their frustration at every opportunity about a wider context, rather than it just being about 45 minutes of football.
Yeah,
I think that was, and it's definitely a minority. I'd say, I reckon if I had to guess a number, there'd be 3,000 or 4,000 fans who are booing, certainly not 20,000.
No. But I mean, so we get to halftime. I sort of, we've seen it before, and I'm thinking we could do with, we'll come on to it. I think Kulusevski is a fantastic footballer. I think he's a lovely footballer. I think longer term, I think the way we want to play, I think he'll be better centrally. But I didn't think he was very good. And obviously, Johnson comes on for him, Gare. Right, so were you calling for that substitution at halftime?
Okay, well, on the Kulu thing, I know I've been a bit harsh on him today, but if Werner scores his 1-on-1, if Son scores his, that's 2 assists for Kulusevski. Is he still crap? Is he still
I don't think any of us think he's crap.
Does he get taken off? I thought apart from those 2 moments, he was very poor, but those 2 go in, he probably stays on the pitch as we've got a 2-1 lead. But yeah. I mean, he was the obvious choice. We needed something to change, and Werner was looking a little bit more
dangerous,
a little bit more viable. Son, you're not going to take Son off that early unless he's had an absolute stinker, which he rarely does. So it was the obvious choice.
Yeah. Courtney, Son's not coming off if you need a goal, is he? What are you thinking at halftime? We going to change it, or are you thinking Ange isn't going to change it? We've got to stick with it. What are your thoughts?
Well, typically he will stick with it at least for another, 10, 15 minutes. So I was a little bit surprised to see Brennan Johnson come in that early, admittedly. But I almost wonder with Decky if he's carrying a knock or something like that, because he all season he's kind of looked a step off, like just a step slower than he normally is, and you don't just forget how to play football one day, So I almost wonder about that. And then the other thing is that I think defenses have really figured him out. His move was always to drive the outside and then cut back in and hit it on that left. And team defenders are taking that away from him now. And so I'm almost wondering if he's struggling a little bit for ideas, because he's always been able to rely on that cut back to the left, and they're taking it away. So in the grand scheme of things, while I was a little bit surprised at the timing, it was absolutely the right decision, clearly. So I'll never question St. Ange again.
Yeah, so
I know a lot of people like to bring on to say it's good to bring on Johnson late when the legs are tired and whatnot. But maybe Decky's the guy you bring on late when you're up a goal, because Decky, the strongest part of his game is ball retention, is holding the ball. Mm-hmm. I mean the guy turns into Shaquille O'Neal when you're trying to get the ball off him. We
need to be winning if we just want him to hold the ball, though, don't we? We need that strength is good for you when you're winning a game and you're trying to keep the ball.
Exactly. As I said, if we're up 2-1, bring on Decky because he's gonna hold the ball. But
I mean, we said about Johnson, Jim, in 51 minutes puts in a first time cross. Werner's coming across, tapping in, but their defender expertly puts it away. 1-1 then. And I bet you're thinking, that's it now. Well, I think we're all thinking we just got to push on now and we'll win this. I said to Zach, once we score, I think we'll win 3 or 4-1. Obviously, I was wrong, but I did always fancy us to win. But an instant impact from Johnson.
Yeah, it was. And just to round off the kind of Kulusevski and Johnson debate, who starts where, I kind of feel like it's a bit like saying, should I use a spoon or a fork? Well, it depends what you're eating. And I think that kind of is for certain games, you have one of those players for certain situations. And Ange's comments after the game were that Kulusevski wasn't stretching the play enough for Spurs. And that was actually the first time I've heard Ange call out a player specifically on the aspects of the game in an interview. So I found that quite interesting. I think what he was insinuating was, I told him to do X and he did Y, and he wasn't very happy about it. But maybe that's a wider discussion for later. But it was an instant impact. And another thing Ange has said on multiple occasions, and I think Ali Gold talked about this as well in his latest show, that because as someone who goes to Hotspur Way a lot and watches the training, they practice that exact move over and over and over and over again. It's the stereotypical Ange Postecoglou goal is out to that wide player who whips in that perfectly vicious low cross ball that just sends everyone into mass panic and in the defense. And there's someone there to whip it in. And you saw that. I think the own goal was very much, you almost wish he'd got an assist for it, because I feel most defenders are going to put that in the back of the net or, fumble it and it's going to go in through a rebound or something. It was a beautiful cross. And Johnson, credit to him. I think all his goals we're starting to see a theme. That's his strength, very much so, isn't it? But at the same time, you wouldn't want him holding up the ball the way Kulusevski does in a different game. But I thought it was. I'm just trying to get my head around it. Time will tell.
But regarding that, if you said to Ange, "What should I use, a fork or a spoon?" wouldn't he say? And you're meant to be using a spoon, and you're saying you use them for different things. Wouldn't he be saying use the spoon better? Like,
he would as well.
Change it to plan B.
he would.
Plan A better.
I think it is. Yeah.
He's saying use your spoon better, mate.
Use a spork, mate.
Use a spork.
You could use a spork. If that's what we need to do in the summer, is go and buy a spork. Because we got a spoon and fork, maybe we need a spork. But yeah.
Well, you said it earlier, Gibbo. He's not a natural right winger, and he says it himself.
No,
he's not a natural right winger, but he is a very good footballer who somehow makes it work and has created more opportunities. Chances created statistically, Kulusevski's made more than anyone else in the Spurs squad. So he's doing something right.
Exactly, like how he only has 3 assists. He's created 53 chances or something like that. That's
something crazy like
that. Again, he could have had 2 assists in the first half.
While
playing subpar.
Yeah. But we've just gone off at a tangent a bit, but we're sort of going for the win. And then another madness. Brennan Johnson, obviously, again, on the end of this. Obviously, but this is just before we go on to that, just before this has happened, Bentancur comes on and Lo Celso for Maddison and Sarr. I thought Sarr was having quite a good game, to be fair. But Maddison and comes up Bentancur, and they both sort of lifted the performance a little bit, didn't they, Courtney? I felt they come on and made an impact.
Yeah, I mean, and it's something that I think they're always. I think that's one of the things that I'm most excited by is the depth that this midfield has, which hasn't necessarily always been there. I, like you, was very surprised. I thought it was for sure going to be, Rodri for Bissouma instead of for Sarr, because I think he is so much more dynamic and able to get that team moving up the field a bit better. But that being said, I do think Bissouma played better today than I have seen him in the last few weeks. He's lately been coughing up the ball in the midfield like it's his job. So he did have a bit better retention and we're making better passes. There were still a couple questionable ones in there, but yeah, I mean, I think the ability to be able to refresh this midfield with one change and get dynamicism and passes connected and chances created is one of the things that I think I'm most excited by for the future. And when all of these guys are 100% healthy, because I think Matters still isn't. Also, I think we've got games are won and lost in the midfield, and I think we've got as good a shot as any other team in the Prem.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for saying that, because I'm going to come to Gare next. But I was surprised Sarr was brought off, but I wasn't surprised Maddison was brought off, Gare. What were your thoughts on those substitutions and the impact those two players made?
That was a Tuesday night decision. If we weren't playing West Ham on Tuesday night, that substitution doesn't happen at that time. I think Ange Luckney said we can control this midfield with Bentancur and Lo Celso. I mean, two internationals. I mean, Lo Celso would have won a World Cup a year and a half ago if he wasn't injured. I mean, so I think a lot of that had to do with let's keep some energy in Sarr's legs. So I wasn't too unhappy about it because miffed. I wasn't like, Ange, you're an idiot at that point, but
subs because his substitutions have been called into question over at times this season, but like Jim,
it doesn't work.
Of course they do. That's what everyone does. Yeah, most people do. Jim, what were your thoughts on them? Because I'm going to be honest. And another one, because I've said what I thought about Sonny, even though I think he's a class player, but I think I always take it for what it is, no matter how good players are. I see the bits I think need improvement, or if they haven't been really good, or I'll always say what I think is fair and right. And I don't think Maddison's been I didn't think he was very good on Saturday. And I think he struggled since he's come back from injury. So were you surprised by the sub? Do you think that was done for Tuesday night? Or do you think maybe, the guy needs to sort of like be sat out for a bit and and get someone on with a bit more legs who's going to sort of spark us into life a bit like maybe Lo Celso did?
I think... So there was two players there, wasn't there? Sarr, yes, was a Tuesday night decision, in my opinion, because that was a breakthrough performance for me, for Sarr, in my personal view, because he took his performance to a new level with, I want to kind of almost call it swag, but there was this just confidence of these ridiculous flicks and backhills. And I was thinking that I'm getting this vibe that I got with players like Modric and Bale when they were breaking through. And these moments, you're like, normal players don't do that. Even good players don't do that in the Premier League. And you're how old? And you're already doing that. So I think, as Gare was saying, that was protecting who Ange sees as a key player for the run-in, and thinking Bentancur also needs minutes to get to a level where he can be relied on starting again in future. But yeah, I'm with you fully on Maddison. Like, I've got a bit of a weird stance with football with Spurs where, well, I don't think it's weird, but it goes against the grain. A lot of people, I support Tottenham Hotspur. Then I support the manager, and the players are just these disposable people who come in and out. And I have a soft spot for the occasional one. So I have a soft spot for Son. But Maddison, in my eyes, I don't know what the issue is behind the scenes, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ange started Lo Celso on Tuesday. I really wouldn't. I think Maddison, and he was dropped, if you remember, when Leicester were fighting relegation. He was dropped in their key run-in. And there were comments from Leicester fans about, it was partly because of the system. They wanted to move to a low block. But also, he doesn't deal with adversity in the same way that other players do. He gets...
He's been very petulant lately as well.
Yeah, he has. He clearly gets under his skin. And sometimes he's the type of person, you just take him out of it for a bit and just let him cool down. And I think West Ham is going to be spicy and it's going to be intense. They're going to be kicking the hell out of him. And it's almost better to say, you come on and be the hero at 60 minutes this time.
Oh, he'd love that.
Let's start Lo Celso on the bench and prove you can do it. I believe in you, James. I think that's what they'll be saying to him.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if, he's dropped. And it was completely the right decision to bring him off.
On that note about Maddison, I just read that he was still the fourth most fouled player in the league this year, and he's missed 9 games.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's an early tactic of teams. As soon as he touches the ball, they know.
If you've played football before, you know somebody gets like that. You make sure somebody gets into them, gets under their skin. And I think James Maddison is a fantastic footballer. I mean, I'm with Jim. I support the badge. I don't even go as far as the manager. If the manager's playing up, it is what it is. Like I said with Conte, I've called him early for what he was. I support the badge. The players, the manager, even as far as the chairman, they'll probably outsee me and, all the board and that. But it's the badge. It's all about them. I do have soft spots for players, but as I grow older, those soft spots become a little bit harder. I don't really they come and go. I've seen them. I've seen so many come and go. But yeah, I think you bang on, Jim. I don't think that would be a bad tactic with Maddison. Bring him on, say go and win us the game. I think that might give him a bit of a, he'll be upset first of all, but he'll probably want to prove a point. But yeah, I think he has been petulant lately. But yeah, those we need to move on. Those two, I felt they just give us a little bit of impetus. And then, obviously, the madness. Courtney, that is unbelievable, isn't it? That.
I think you have the overhead.
That is over the line.
Do you have the overhead? Because I don't think there is a better visual definition of what it is to be a Spurs fan than that ball sitting with a millimeter to go over the line. I mean, that is being a Spurs fan in an image, if there ever was one. I think, it's absolutely, it's wild. Again, this is another, what do we have to do moment, to just get the stupid thing in the net,
Yeah.
So it's wild to me, that could even happen. But it doesn't get much closer than that. I mean, this would have made it 3-1, and a couple others we've talked about. I mean, a couple millimeters here or there is the difference between a 2-1 squeaker and a 5-1 drubbing. So,
Well, apparently we have got the Hawkeye graphic, but I'm going to keep this one up for a minute because I'm looking at that, and you can give me all the Hawkeye graphics you like. That is further beyond. Yeah, is it like conspiracy or hard luck? I'm not having. Well,
that's
behind the line.
This is the same argument that goes back to when Newcastle beat those interlopers from down the road, right? They were certain the ball was out, and from every angle it looked it, except from above where it showed the ball was still on it like that. So I mean, I actually think Jan Vertonghen scored a goal that was actually 2 millimeters over the line. So all things equal out. But in all honesty, that should have been it. Johnson should have put that in the back of the net.
Yeah,
I mean, he hit it at the keeper. Basically, I know it came to him quick, and the keeper was like a yard away. Yeah. But he's got to. That's got to be. At least it didn't spoon over the net.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, we we can say, oh, that's Spursy, but he's got to finish that. And I love Johnson, but yeah, I mean,
but that is like you're looking at. I look at the three pictures there, and the first one I'm looking at, and I'm going,
that looks like it's in.
That,
yeah,
and how quick things move now. And then you go to the next one. I can
that one looks like it could still be.
That's matching that one, but
go back to that one there. That shot there, it almost looks impossible for him to not kick it off the post and into the goal.
Yeah,
it almost looks like it's behind the goalpost.
Jim, that there. Do you think that's at the same point? That image is took at the same point as that is taken.
No, and like the way the technology works is it is freeze frames, and we see it like even when Sky with all the best cameras and technology in the world, even when they're freeze framing something, there's little skips, and the technology we know for whatever it is, it's not 100% accurate, but it's 98 probably 0.999% accurate, which is much better than what a human could do. So we all agree to accept a tiny margin in the error for the trade-off of consistency in decisions, and to say, therefore, there's no bias, a machine made the decision and it's 99% accurate. But I'm with you that you will never truly be 100% sure whether that did just scrape by. Because like you say, some angles, it does look like it has. And it's a worse judgment in your own eyes. But the whole east and the west, by the goal either side of it, they were celebrating like it had gone in. Us in the south looking down, we were like, I can't quite tell. And I thought, if the people either side of it think it's in, it's got to be in, right? But I don't know.
And all the Spurs players thought it was in too.
And the Spurs players thought it was in too, yeah.
Fortunately for us, it didn't matter, because then we get this. Starts here. Off he goes, look, Son. Little bit the old Son there. Lays in Werner. Stands his man up. Whips it in. Now am I going to get what's the next? Here we got Johnson's little layoff. This is good, isn't it? It's like these little picture frames like this. And then Sonny, there he goes. Look, on the end of it, he's carried on his run. And that went in the back of the net. So we're 2-1 up, 86 minute. And we're like, thank God for Son, ain't we, Jim? Like you say, when the chips are down, when you need a goal, no matter how bad he's played, like I said, I don't think he's actually played brilliantly, in his whole game. But in those moments when someone's bearing down on goal, you want that person to be Son.
You do. And he's standing exactly where Sarr was standing on the other side of the pitch for the goal that went straight at the defender. And I feel like the difference is Sonny's, even when they keep standing up, knows and has the natural ability to pick that spot, whereas other players we have don't. So, yeah. God bless Sonny.
And Brennan Johnson for fighting to get to that ball to lay it off to him. I mean, that was that was real effort. And going back to our Kulu discussion, I don't know if Kulu's there. If he's in compared to Brennan. Brennan's just kind of circling around that goal area. So
good touch, Gare, by Johnson, or was it a mistake? Was it? Did he mean it?
No, I think it was a little. I think the ball was a little bit behind him, and the easiest thing to do was to lay it off. But he could have easily of tried to take a touch. He had the awareness to know that Son was coming in, right, to lay it off, and then Son does the smart thing. Instead of putting his laces through it, he tries to place it, which is what if Sarr does. Son scores the fourth goal, and I get 20 points in our predictor pool. So
and Son's had the good sense, because the keeper was diving that way, to play it off one of the defenders as well, hasn't he?
Well,
he's got the ice running through his veins to play it off a defender.
Totally on purpose. Totally.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you make your luck, right?
Yeah.
And we had enough. We spurned enough chances. I mean, Porro had a great chance from a layoff from Johnson as well.
Yeah.
That I would have put a lot of money on him hitting the target, and he fired it over. So I mean, the chances were there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, mate. I think, like you say you make your own look, and this Spurs team, more often than not, we keep going. We don't stop, do we? We heard Ange say that before when he was at Celtic, but we do mostly tend to keep going, don't we, Courtney? And we sort of made our own luck in the end. We had some bad luck, but we kept plugging away, and we got what we deserved, didn't we?
Yeah, and it was almost the opposite of the goal we conceded. So to Jim's point, it was that goal we conceded was four players making half mistakes, and this play was 3 players making the right decision in the opposite. And it was, I mean, that just speaks to the quality of the team. To keep digging in and to keep being in the right place and giving yourselves a chance. Eventually they're going to go in. So, and I think that's, to a larger extent, why I think we're all very excited about this team and Ange and the system and the future that what the future may hold. So yeah, I mean, you just got to keep digging in, keep firing away because something's going to happen.
Yeah, and Jim, an important win, 4th and 5th now. United with their result shouldn't really be, looking down now. We should be looking up. Good subs by Ange, where, over the course of the season, he has been called into question about how he's, what he's done to change a game. So that was all good. And let's be honest, mate. I said we'd hammer them. We had some bad luck. We should have really beat them by a heavier margin, but we were the better team on the day and thoroughly deserved to win, didn't we?
Yeah, we did deserve to win, and I'd kind of cap it off a little bit with replicating what Ange said. I'm very much in his camp of dreaming until the end, and we may be 8 points off Man United, who people believe can catch us. Well, we're 8 points off the top of the table as well. So why not think? Look, the bogey in the ointment is West Ham. I think more so in a way than any other fixture. West Ham away is always just, it's their cup final, the old joke. But if we win that game, I think everyone should have a little bit of fun and dream, because I think looking at the fixtures, we're going to be potentially within 6 points with 6 games to go, with a game a week versus everyone else juggling Europe and other competitions. So I'm so happy with the way the season's gone. Considering the start, I was thinking 8th place in good football, I'll take that. But we're miles ahead of that, so I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, I had us down to, in our pre-season predictions, I had us to finish 8th. Genuinely did, because I thought the other teams would push on. Some of them have struggled more than I thought in Europe. But yeah, you have got to look at it, haven't you, Gare, that we're in a good place. I mean, if we beat West Ham, which I don't think we will, I don't want to get into it, but I don't think we will, then I think we'll get 4th. If we win that game, I think we'll go on to finish 4th. But that's a big game. But yeah, happy with obviously how it finished on Saturday. We were the better team.
Yeah, we were. I mean, I think over the past 2 matches, I mean, Fulham included, we probably should have scored 10 goals. Right? We need, for Tuesday night, we have to be clinical, and we have to work as hard as West Ham are going to, because one thing you can guarantee about a David Moyes team is effort, and as cliche as it has been for many years, this is the cup final, right? So but we need to find those the clinical boots we had against Villa 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
Right. If we keep squandering chances like this, it'll catch up to us again, like it did against Fulham.
I do want to add one of the passing points is Liverpool, Man City, and Arsenal scored 2 goals between them last weekend. And Liverpool very much scraped a win against a side. I imagine in their shoes, our fans at home would be saying, we should be winning this by 3 goals. The performance wasn't good enough. And we did the numbers, and if Spurs lost 6 games a year, which is against Arsenal, Liverpool, and City, home and away, and we won all the other games we're supposed to win, we'd have won, I think it was 20 of the last 23 Premier League seasons. So it just goes to show there is.
It doesn't work like that, does it?
It doesn't work like that, and everyone's going to drop points and be disappointed. Yeah.
But I also say it doesn't work like that, and I know what you're saying about Man United and Liverpool. Obviously, they scored those goals between us. But I've got this in my points, so I'll just I know we're at an hour now, but a couple of points that I've got from the game. Like, I do believe we do have to be more clinical, though. We've got to do that for ourselves, not because Man United, not because Liverpool and Arsenal and whoever only scored so many goals. But if we take care of ourselves, then we will be flying. That has got to be the next step. I do think we could make our lives a lot easier if we were clinical. And I don't mean that just in front of goal. I also, like when I watch Spurs, I sometimes think it's that pass before the assist would be an assist or the assist. I'm talking about clinical in all those areas, and maybe a little bit more. Clinical is probably not the right word at the back, because the other point I'm going to come on to is that we can just talk about all these in a one. The conceding goals a lot of times first. These are things that we do need to work on. Not slagging the coach off, not slagging the team off, not slagging individual players off, but they are things that do. If we want to push on from where we are now, they are things that we are going to have to rectify or at least get better at. Every team concedes goals. Every team makes mistakes. Lots of teams miss lots of chances. As Jim said, the big teams only scored so many goals between them last weekend. So everybody has periods where they do that. But if we want to be up in that bracket, those two things, being clinical in our passing and our finishing, and stop conceding goals first, and try and concede a few less goals anyway, are things that have got to be rectified, haven't they, Courtney?
Yeah, absolutely. And and as I think the beauty of the system that they play is as long as the effort is there, the chances will come. And for me, that's the biggest in the years I've been watching this game. That's the biggest definer. I mean, you can have a team who's at the bottom of the Prem who comes in with more effort against a Liverpool, and they'll walk away with 3 points. So the reaction this weekend is the reaction that they have to have in every game after a goal is conceded.
Yeah.
You're on mute, mate.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
Okay. So yeah, exactly. I mean, and we're creating chances, but we just need to match the effort. And West Ham are gonna be pissed on Tuesday after their laughable result on Saturday.
I don't think that result's done us any favors.
No.
Yeah, no, it hasn't. It would have been if they would have run out 8-1 winners. It would have been, I think, better for us. But oh well, we know what we have to do. We keep winning. Fourth is in our hands. All right. So,
yeah, exactly.
So
Jim,
exactly where you would want to be. Right.
At this part of the season, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I don't think a lot of us thought we would be in that position. But Jim, conceding and the clinical nature of what we're like up front, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think I'm feeling a little bit more confident for West Ham in not conceding, because obviously Van der Ven's back as well, which is huge. Dragason's been in a big step up on what we had, and he's a young guy of great potential, and I really like what I've seen so far. But Van der Ven's Van der Ven. I wouldn't swap him for anyone right now. So that gives me a bit more confidence. And as someone else has said before, Ange will learn more from that result than he would the 4-0 from Villa. Like the results that test you are where you learn your lessons. And I think, like Gareth said, though, I would rather play anyone off the back of a big win from their side than of a narrow defeat, because it's the old wounded animal expression, isn't it? And West Ham don't need many excuses to get riled up by us and make this the point that achieved something in the season and release a DVD about it. So yeah.
We can't get into that though, can we, Jim? I know. I think, I know it's their cup final, but I think we've got to go into it and be going like, it is what it is. It's just another game against a good team away from home.
We can't.
We need to get the points. We cannot get dragged into it. It's your cup final, but no matter what happens, it's like put all that to the side. It's a game of football we need to win.
Ange will say, play your own game, like he always does. He trains his players not to even look at the clock. You just play your game. The time on there is irrelevant. That drags you off purpose. You play this way for 90 minutes. It doesn't matter what colour shirt they're wearing or who they are. You play this way. And I think that's why we've got the best record against the top six as a club out of all the top six sides, is because we go in with that mentality. And they're like, Tottenham should be sitting back. What are they doing? The disrespect they're showing to us. And then as a result, we go toe-to-toe with these teams and we get results. And I think that should play into our hands well with this game as well.
And we play all of them still to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have your score prediction, Jim?
Score prediction versus West Ham. I'm going to go for a 2-2, spicy 2-2. Desmond, yeah.
Courtney, let's have your score prediction for the West Ham game.
I'm gonna go 2-1 Spurs.
Oh, I hope you're right. Come on then, Gare. Is it going for what are you going for? You've got a draw and a win here. What are you doing?
Okay. 6 minutes. James Ward-Prowse does what he always does and curls in a free kick against us. Paqueta gets a red and we score 4. 4-1.
4 what? Now, seriously, what you think, Jim?
I'm going 4-1.
Absolutely fair.
Dare to dream, my friends. Dare to dream.
Yeah. Today
what Ange wants. I'm just doing what Ange wants me to do.
And on team selection, Van de Ven comes in for everybody, yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Johnson starts.
Johnson starts. And Lo Celso starts, I'd say.
Yeah. Who does Lo Celso come in for? Maddison?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think Johnson comes in for Werner and Kulu starts.
I don't want Johnson on the left. That is a complete waste.
I know, but I think that's just gonna. I think Ange. I mean, West Ham are fairly physical, and Kulu's a better choice.
So by that score, though, you could. I mean, I know Son is not physical, but you may want to play the Richarlison up top to, be a little bit more physical and put it in a little bit. But
I still think this is a game too early for a Richie 90 start.
Courtney, what are you doing if you're picking the team?
I also wouldn't be shocked at all if Rodrigo starts instead of Bissouma.
Yeah,
play him with Poppy.
I was going to talk about Bissouma because he's received a lot of stick over the past few weeks. I wasn't sure whether let's just have a couple of minutes before we move on. I think Bissouma hasn't been the player he was. I think he is quite casual in the way he plays. I think he did on Saturday, obviously dangled his leg in, which looked awful and was awful, actually. But I don't think he's been as bad. I mean, he's the new Højbjerg, isn't he? He's the new one everybody wants to get at. He's rubbish. Maybe we do need better than him, but he's the new boo boy, isn't he, Jim?
Yeah, we have this thing though. Like, there's always got to be someone to blame. And when you go through the squad, you can't blame Udogie. Everyone loves Udogie. He's the new shooting star of the team. No one's going to blame Mickey van der Beek for anything. Dragusin gets a pass because he's the new kid. No one wants to blame Romero unless he gets a booking. Porro is a fan favourite. No one wants to blame. Then you get into midfield. Sarr's again, the golden student who can do no wrong. So I think once you start working your way through these lists of players, Sonny's someone as well who will just never get criticism unless he does something particularly bad. And you kind of leave yourself going, everyone goes, well, I can either blame Kulusevski or I can blame Werner or I can blame, and you go down to these lists of players where these guys start to get into the blame game. I don't think Bissouma's been that bad. I think people are just frustrated that we hyped him up so much. And I really think we did.
Yeah.
We put a gif around of him celebrating over the Arsenal players playing for Brighton and saying this guy's going to make, Thomas Partey and Declan Rice look like mugs. And then he's ended up being pretty kind of, he's been fine, but he just hasn't been great. I think we've exuberated that frustration by being a bit overly dramatic, as we can be as supporters, when he's just been all right. He's been fine. And there's no secret. They've talked about it in multiple press conferences, and Ali Gold reports it regularly that we're looking for more midfielders. So I think it's a case of, we're going to sign competition for places. Ange is ruthless. It doesn't matter who you are. Don't be surprised if he tries to replace the unthinkable and to replace someone like Son or anyone in that team. He'll be looking for any opportunity to improve on anyone. And Bissouma is probably someone we know that we're looking at changing as well, which adds more pressure on the guy. And lastly, got a feel for him. We never know what's going on with these guys' personal lives. And he's had this malaria issue that caused some issues. The international duty thing, he's been dropped by Marley. And you kind of feel maybe, you never know what's going on behind the scenes. He's going through a bit of a rough patch where football just isn't his be all and end all. And he's, in a space where he just isn't that good mentally at the moment compared to where he was before. So
and I think that's where I land on it. I don't know that it's necessarily that he's a bum in my mind. I think it's more that he may just need a beat. He may need a break. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we're spoiled for choice. It could be worse. We could have we could be Liverpool and have no midfielders to put out there. So I think, I luckily, we're spoiled for choice, and I think he could benefit from a little bit of a break and coming off the bench or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, this comment from Gov, I think, is spot on.
Yeah. Which means on Tuesday, Q and Ange masterstroke and Højbjerg starts.
Hey, I like Højbjerg, so don't. I wouldn't be upset with
I know. As Jim was saying, he's the one that likes to get a lot of abuse, but fair play to the guy. The guy just of course I'd like to play more, but it's not happening. I just turn up at training, I do my bit, and if I get called on, I get called on. He's been a complete pro about it, right? Which is more than you can say about a lot of people that in the same position. So yeah. But no, he's not starting on Tuesday. Don't worry.
No, he's not starting on Tuesday. I'm going to go for 1-1. I'm really not. When they won that game at the weekend, 4-3, I was like, I wish they'd have just drawn it or just nicked it. Just literally held on. But once they lost in those circumstances, the old cynical Spurs fan in me just came out and thought, oh God, that's the last thing we needed. So I'm going to go for 1-1, and I'm not even really confident about that, but I'll go for 1-1. But more importantly, Courtney, thanks for making your debut tonight. We've been going for an hour and 15 now, so we've gone over time a little bit, but really appreciate you coming on. Loved your opinions, and hope you'll come on again at some point. Hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. It's fun.
No problem. And Gare, as always, what are you going to do now, mate? You going to get your head down, or have you midnight? Or
I actually had a little medical procedure done today, and they've the doctors given me tomorrow off as well. But yeah, it's 1 a.m. I might have to go to sleep now.
Yeah, well, you've got all this off your chest from the weekend. You'll sleep like a baby tonight, mate. Especially if they've given you some.
I have no problem sleeping at my age. It's good.
and
I have air conditioning. It's all good.
Jim, thanks for coming on, mate. If you want to hear more of Jim and his colleagues' positivity, because you do a really positive podcast. Jim, don't you? It's excellent. You don't get any of the crap that surrounds surrounds Tottenham Hotspur. It's just talk about the football and be as positive as you can and enjoy it. And that's what your pod's all about, isn't it, Jim? And if you just want to let people know where to find you as well.
Yeah, I mean, it all started by accident when we put a tweet out saying, anyone else sick of discussing who owns us and what's good and bad about that? I just want to talk about the football. and it went off to something like 1 million views. So we said, screw it, let's create a community based on that. So yeah, we just in the pod we avoid talking about ownership and all that stuff wherever possible, unless there's some big announcement or something dramatic, and try focus on the main bit, which is the football and the football club that we all passionately support. And look, it's a very international pod, so like we're just huge advocates of international supporters groups. So Courtney and like, just hats off to you, like the dedication you guys that getting up at early hours and doing everything you do to support this club, like is 10 times what a lot of us do, live an hour from the ground. So yeah, it's just a pleasure to get to meet you, and that's probably one of the best things about meeting you guys. But yeah, you can find us on Spotify, whatever, YouTube, everything. It's just So Spurs. We don't really use Facebook or Instagram actually, so it is mainly on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts.
And you're all on Twitter as well, aren't you, Jim?
Yeah, we are on Twitter. Yeah, we put it out to ask questions, but we don't really engage with. It's always arguments on there, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be a cesspit, but really good show tonight. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for your comments. We'll have the lads, some of the pod lads are back on a YouTube show tomorrow, doing a post West Ham reaction show. So hopefully that will be a really happy one. So it'd be good to watch. So keep an eye on the socials for that. But more importantly, all I've got to say is, come on, you Spurs.
Go on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.